Hello everyone out there, this is Fred and Harry Easter of Word, working on Real Dreams, coming at you again. And today we have another special guest with us in the house. You may not believe it, but it's true. We got the one and only Dr. X, Dr. Tipler. He's the co-founder and co-owner of Proficient Chiropractic. It's located in St. Louis, Missouri, and they're doing great work at this center, him and his team. As a matter of fact, they're my chiropractor and my brothers too. And they straightened me out today. I ain't think nobody could straighten me out, but I'm straight. So, but I want to ask the doctor a few questions because I've been talking to you, and man, your story to me is amazing because it's something that I never even knew was existing at this day and time. And you told me about how, and you're a young man, you're a lot younger than me.
Okay.
But even as a young man in your life in Missouri,
Yeah.
you were actually chopping cotton, not picking cotton, chopping cotton. Is that right?
Yeah.
See, you gave me a new word even with the chopping. I always thought it was picking. but you took, it was just so amazing to me. But can you kind of share that with us about what you went through as a child?
Yeah. So first off, we got to get some perspective on where I actually grew up, because I am from Missouri, but I grew up in southeast Missouri. We call it the Boot Hill.
Right. So you're close to Cape Girardeau.
A little farther south than Cape Girardeau, but that whole area is considered the Boot Hill, man. And you know, first off, it's a place that I'm proud of, you know, where I grew up, because, you know, you journey outside of that, people ask where you from, you know, in St. Louis, it's the thing where you went to high school and all that.
Right.
So, you know, I get that question, and I was like, well, I actually grew up in the Boot Hill, New Madrid, Missouri. And, you know, growing up, it's totally different from the city, you know, in St. Louis. But I consider myself a country boy, man.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up a lot of big farm towns, so a lot of farmland. And from the time that I was 9 years old, my first job was working in a cotton field.
Wow.
You know, with that area, agriculture, like I said, farming was the biggest thing, man. So it wasn't just me, but my mother, you know, all the adults that I knew around, all my friends as we were growing up. That was the job that we had every summer, you know. When that time came, we sitting out, we waiting on the cotton truck to come, the field truck to come, and we load up, man, take us out to a field, and that's the work that we put in. You get a hoe in your hand, you got your bag of lunch, and you spend the days out there. And it's crazy, you know. I have to always put it in the context, because when I say chopping cotton, the first thing people mind go to is, you know, picking cotton, and it takes you back to the slave days.
Right.
And it wasn't, man, until I actually got from down there that I realized that, you know, that was modern day slavery.
Absolutely.
You know, I graduated from high school in 95. So from the age of 9 all the way up until I graduated from high school, that was my summer job.
But let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Who decided that you should go work picking chopping cotton?
Who decided?
Who decided that? How did it come about?
I did. I mean,
What made you want to do that?
Because that's what everybody did. I mean, that's what it was down there. So like I said, my mother, my aunts, you know, uncles, everybody, you know, the adults that you saw in the neighborhood, in the community, for jobs, that's what we did in the summer.
So this wasn't a family business.
This wasn't a family business.
This was a job that the family was all involved in.
So it was the community,
right?
You know, so look at it like this, you know, and it's like everywhere. But it was the white people that had the farmland,
right?
You know, and they farming all this land, but at the same time, you need laborers, right? So they would hire, say for you, Mr. Easter, you would be the guy, you know, they hire you, you go out, you pick your laborers, and all you do is you haul them back and forth to the cotton field. Wow. So that's kind of how it was, that was really reality for us And you know, growing up back then, we didn't know, you knew about slavery and you knew about all those things, but it didn't really register with us,
Right, not
you
like
know,
that.
in that sense.
Right.
Because, you know, for school clothes, for my brothers and sisters, myself, it's like to help out in the household, it's like, well, I'm going to the cotton field. I was old enough. And the crazy thing, at 9 years old, I remember my mom was going and she was like, you wanna go to the cotton field? Like, yeah. So when I got there, I remember the guy's name, Mr. Felix. Black guy, but you know, he farmed with the white people, so he was one of the haulers. And man, he had one of these big army trucks, had the little covering on the top and everything, man. And you know, every day throughout the week, you out there early in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, we standing there waiting on the truck to come. And it'd be,
You just mentioned your mom. Was you raised in two families?
nah,
Yes, you did.
single family, yeah.
Okay.
My mom took care of everything, you know, boyfriends and everything like that along the way. You know, one boyfriend she had, my brother's father, my brother's and my sister's father. He was in the household, and you know, he had a little bit in me growing up as a man. He taught us, you know, you got to get out there and work, and but that's what we saw in our community. All the men.
How did you look at, some people call it stepfather. How did you look at this?
You know, I knew he was my stepfather. My father was still present in my life, even though he wasn't physically living in that same area. But, you know, my father, he still, you know, if I needed things, I could call him. I still went to visit him because he was living in Mobile, Alabama at the time. But my stepfather, he was around for a large majority of my young life growing up. And but not only him, but like my aunts and the boyfriends that they had. New Madrid was it's a population about 3,000, man.
I'm familiar with it a
So
little bit.
yeah, so you know, when it talks about it takes a village,
Yeah.
you know, to raise kids,
Yeah.
we did have that young growing up. So seeing them, they were out there in the fields. It just gave us, you know, they weren't gonna let us sit around and, you know, play video games or anything like that. It's like, you old enough, it's time for you to get up out here and contribute. So like when I was 9, I was just a water boy. So, and this is the crazy thing. When I was the water boy, got the pail and I had the little dipper, and I would walk down the field, and all the people that's working, you know, I just walk with the pail of water, and they would take the dipper and sip their water and put it in there and go to the next person. They would sip that water.
This is not still going on down there now, is it?
Not to that degree, but there are still people, you know, that go out into the fields and, you know, they driving the tractors and stuff like that.
You know, the thing that intrigued me about that so much is that, man, that's a powerful story, but what's even more powerful to me is who you made, who you became to be, you know, going through that, because we all go through some difficult times, you know, and everybody's story is different. And ever since we've ever met, you know, I'm gonna tell you this, I ain't never told you this before, but I've always looked up to you. You
I
know?
appreciate that, man.
Now, whoever thought I'd be looking up to a little farm boy that was out there chopping cotton, you know, but this is what makes your story so great, because not only did it pay off for you and you were able to achieve goals that you may never even thought that you would achieve yourself.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of youngsters out here that's going through some of the same things that you went through, just in a different area at a different time, that needs to know these stories, you know, because you came up, you didn't have your father in the house. There's a lot of kids that we dealing with that don't even have a father. Some, you know, some of them have mothers that's not really there with them totally. So, can you just kind of share some of the things that living that life took you through, as far as maybe trauma or?
Oh yeah, so I'll tell you this also, man. When I remember, plain as day, man, right around the 6th grade or so, you know, in the 80s, man, I always say the 80s was rough. because that's when, you know, drugs, all this stuff really started hitting the black community. And for a small town like where we came up, the people that you looked up to, man, those are all the people that we started to see how drugs started to totally change their life, changed everything around in our neighborhoods, what that looked like, even my own mother.
So
you know?
drugs was even prevalent in
Oh
New
man,
Memphis?
oh
Wait a
man.
minute, you see your own mother?
My own mother, man, you know, ended up getting hooked on drugs really
Wow.
bad. And I'm the oldest of 5, so it was just, you know, it was different. It was something to where, man, I remember times where guys that were a little bit older, you know, they peddling drugs or whatever. I remember riding in the back seat with one of my friends and his older brother, and my mom walking down the street, and you know, everybody all knew if your mom on drugs, your dad on drugs, everybody knew.
How'd you know?
And,
I mean, kids, I know they would talk about,
Yeah.
about that.
But
How'd you
it-
know that?
I won't say it was easy to handle, but a couple of my friends, their mothers the same thing. So, you know, it was something that we were all dealing with and having to really just, that was our reality. So again, you know, growing up down there, you didn't see black successful doctors or lawyers or anything like that. So what we knew is what we knew. And man, there was a group of my homeboys that when we came up, we always said, you know, we never do this, we're not gonna do that, because we saw what it was doing to the people in our
Right.
community.
Right.
But the way that it affected me, I was an athlete, man. So, you know, football, basketball, all those things I enjoyed doing, but I also realized that those were ways of me separating and getting out of the environment.
That was
you know
your
what
escape.
I'm saying? That was my escape.
Yeah.
And from the time of the 6th grade, man, just kind of dealing with all that, just seeing all that going on with my mother, how it was affecting the household, no food, and you know, just a lot. And I got younger brothers and sisters. I really can't do nothing for them. And it was probably my 8th grade year, 9th grade year or so, and every summer, man, my aunt, she just lived, you know, across town, and I would just go stay there. And then it was one summer, she was like, "You going back home for, you know, school year getting started?" You know, it was just hard, and I didn't go back home. So I ended up living with my aunt, and I had a cousin that was my age, so we were really close. And so, man, I left home. It was just something that I couldn't deal with. But, you know, my mom was still there. I still would go there, check on my brothers, my sisters, you know, make sure my mom all right. But then that made it even more important that during the summers, time to go out in this cotton field, you know, make some money, make sure my sisters, my brothers, they got clothes for school, that, you know, if you need anything in the house that I could, you know.
So you was
Help
trying
out
to
with
raise
that.
yourself and
Yeah.
helping with
Yeah.
the future of your siblings.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
why ask you this then? Seemed like you was young, having a little money. Did anybody ever try to bully you out your money?
Nah, it wasn't like that down there, and that's the difference. It's like, I understand what kids go through, because there were kids that got bullied and stuff like that, but we all were in the same situation,
In the same boat.
same boat. So we were all out there in the cotton fields together.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you this then.
Yeah.
What was your fears? See, 'cause we trying to find out some of the things these youngsters going through.
Mm-hmm.
But how did you handle your fears?
You know, the fears I had, man, was not making it out, and ending up like what I was seeing every single day.
Wow.
That was my fear. It's one thing, and I tell youngsters now, you know, the one thing that I didn't want to be was a statistic. So whether that was young black boy, 16, 17 years old in high school, going to prison for drugs. Young black boy, 16, 17 years old, teenager, getting shot, killed, whatever the case may be. A young black athlete, all they good at is sports, don't have any smarts. You know, you get an opportunity and you don't take it. So it was all those things that I knew about those statistics.
Right.
And that's what I didn't want to do. That's what I didn't want to end up. So everything moving forward was so that I wouldn't fall into any one of those categories.
It took a strong constitution and a relentless behavior in order to be able to identify at that earlier age what you wanted and what you didn't want, you know, and then make your mind up to pursue this. Now, along the way, I know it's some things that came up that may have set you back or make you feel like, hey, I can't do it. Did you ever feel that way? And if so, what did you do to be able to work through that? Because we all kind of get knocked down at times, you know. But what happened with you along the way?
You know, when you thinking about it, man, those things happen. But again, it's the consistency. It's really knowing that you want different, and that's really all it is. When you know that you want different, it's certain things that comes up, man, and it's like, you know what? Nah, that's just I'm gone.
Right.
I'll holler at you. And don't get me wrong, you know, I ran around with all my homeboys. We got in trouble. We did things that I know wasn't right.
Right.
But at the end of the day, where you want to be has to outweigh where you are.
So you never lost focus.
I never lost focus, man. I never lost focus. And it came down knowing my only way out of there was through sports. That was it.
What sports did you play?
So I played football, played basketball, ran track, and I ended up going to college on a football and track scholarship, as well as academics. And then once I got to college, man, I still played all three sports and kept a grade. So, you know, I tell even youngsters now that play sports, you know, that can only take you so far physically, because the body is gonna break down, but can't nobody take what you got up there.
Right.
You just mentioned academics. And you know, we're having a problem in this area about the youngsters being able to read.
Right.
What started you to want to read?
Nothing made me want to start. You just had to. You know, when you're in school, you gotta you go through the process, and that's just what you get. But I wasn't one of those kids that where every opportunity I'm just picking up a book reading. But when it came to this is the assignments, this is what you need to know, I took the time and I sat down and I studied, you know, what needed to be studied. I was always interested. I just random stuff that that always interested me. So, you know, it could be anything, just a little article. I read it and I remembered those things. So like when it came to the statistics and understanding, and I'll tell you, one of the biggest things you asked, what were those things that kind of helped to keep you on track? So in the 6th grade, and you talk about bullying, in the 6th grade, it was a friend of mine, man. I'll never forget him. But he was a bully. You know, he bullied. If you wasn't cool with him, he gonna bully you. If you were cool with him, he would try you. You know, and you stand your ground. And once he know you ain't backing down, he'll leave you alone. But he was one of those type of guys. And I remember we were in the 6th grade, and the history teacher said, you know, told us like, you know, if you don't change your ways, you'll be dead before 16. Again, that was one of those statistics.
The teacher told him that?
The teacher told him that.
Wow.
In our freshman year in the high school, goes to somewhere he didn't, you know, people already knew him. He already had that reputation as the bad guy, you know what I'm saying, and all this stuff. He, you know, and he got shot and he was killed. Wow. Freshman year, high school. When he died, the first thing I thought about was what that teacher told him when we were in like the 7th grade. And our freshman year, we were right around 16 years old, 15, 16 years old. And he was shot and killed.
She prophesied that.
Yeah. So it was things like that, that it would be little things that people would say. Even the guys out, you know, the men in the community, even though they were out, they may be drunk, they're doing drugs, all these things, people still say things, you know what I'm saying? They still had a certain level of wisdom they had just kind of allowed the world and the environment to get to them, but they
Right.
still had that wisdom and knowledge. So, you know, they will always tell me, it's like, hey, you need to be from, we had this one strip, man, that, you know, all the drugs, all the alcohol, everything, the gambling, everything was around this on this one street, man, under this tree called the Wine Tree. And
That was the name of the street.
that was the name of the tree.
Name of the strip.
It was the Wine Tree. And
Wow.
that's where, you know, the adults, they drugs, gambling, alcohol. And as kids, you know, we would try, any kids gonna try to gravitate, you know, down to that area, but it was always those older guys like, man, what you doing down here?
Right.
You know, you ain't got no
Right.
business down here. Get on,
Right.
you know, get on up the street. And that's, so even though they were doing their thing, they still encouraged us, hey, you don't want to get caught up down here. This ain't the place for you. Get on up the street, you know?
Okay, I'm gonna ask you this. Since it was a group of you all,
Hmm.
did everybody in that group have some success?
Yeah, some of us did, but so in that group, man, I can go through all my guys now. So it was my cousin that I was raised with. He's still in Cape Girardeau. Me and him, we still close. We like brothers, man. And you know, he doing his thing. Got another one of my partners. He went off. He played college basketball. He's now managing a Walmart over in Springfield, Illinois. One of my best friends, man, ended up killing himself, committing suicide. One of my other close friends, he's been in prison, man, since we were 18, 19 years old.
And how old are you now?
I'm 48.
So we're talking
47,
over
about
20
to be
years.
40.
Over
Oh,
20
yeah.
years he's been in prison.
Been in prison
In
for
Missouri.
murder. Yeah, for murder. And then one of my other good friends, he's still back in New Madrid, but he's a pipe fitter. So, you know, again, even when we were growing up, they looked at me, they knew that, you know, with the academics, the sports and all that stuff, I was the one. Yeah, you gonna be something. You'll be the one, you know, everybody got that in their neighborhood. But my thing was, man, we all can get up out of here.
Right.
We all can get up out of here. Now, granted, not everybody that I grew up with made it out, but enough of us did, man, where we can still sit, talk, reminisce, and that's where our strength came from, man. Because knowing what we went through and what we overcame, it's different. Yeah, it's different from city life, but I tell you, man, there's a lot of people from the city I can take, and they wouldn't have been able to come up like that.
Oh, absolutely.
So it doesn't matter where you come from. You know, I always hear people talk about, you know, you got to pave your own way. And what I've learned, man, in my life, the way is already paved. Is whether or not you choose to walk it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You touched on something though that I want to ask you. About, and you said one of your friends committed suicide,
Mm-hmm.
and this is something that's more prevalent now. I don't know how your friend was when he did this,
Mm-hmm.
but I know today. It seems like our young kids committing suicide is something that's an
Yeah.
everyday occurrence.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, these are some of the things that we're helping with too, because
Mhm.
we doing all we can to help these youngsters get through what they're going through
Yeah.
and be able to come out on the other side and be the best that they can be.
Mm-hmm.
But suicide, if they do that, then you can't. It's over.
Nothing, man.
You know. And what's your thoughts on that?
You know, it's okay. So I look at the times that I came up, and I'm sure it was different for you guys as well. But we didn't have the pressure from nowadays with social media.
Right.
And my personal opinion, I really think that is kind of the biggest issue, because now where I grew up, you know, we didn't know what better was. I didn't know what better looked like outside of this. I knew it was something else out there better. I didn't know exactly what that was. So, you know, you're fighting for an unknown. You know what I'm saying? You're
Right.
fighting to get out. because you know it's got to be something better. Now with social media, that better, or what we perceive to be better, is right there in front of you every day. So now when you waking up, and the minute you look at your phone, you see all this stuff that's out there that it's like you can't get. It's like, I can't get this, I can't have that, but it's constantly in your face. And there's nothing helping you or showing you a better way of getting there. Everything looks easy. So when you're going through a struggle, it's not supposed to be this hard. So that stress of it, man, that stress of it all, we dealing with kids that just don't know how to deal with that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But by the same token, you can even through reading.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an author, and I love to read. And reading is one of the things that helped me in my life.
Yeah.
And I touched on that because of what you said about discovering something better.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to see a better life or a better world. And so sometimes seeing something better can encourage you to do the things to get better and to be able to live better. But by the same token, it can also set some people back to where they see that this is something that's not even obtainable
Exactly.
for me,
Yeah.
and cause them to get down on themselves instead of encouraging themselves,
Yeah.
And that's kind of a fine line too, because you just like love and hate. It's a thin line between love and hate, and it's easy for a child to be encouraged about themselves and be down on themselves. So.
It is. So, and I agree with you 100%. But take this into account as well. When you think about a young and really the young men, you think about young boys.
Okay.
And everything that's right there, like you said, the reading and all this stuff. But if you see an athlete, if you see someone who's gained success and all this money, supposedly on social media every single day, it's nothing about reading, it's nothing about the work ethic, it's nothing about the consistency, it's nothing that. Everything is perceived as it's easy.
Right.
So now when I do now I don't have to worry about reading the book. I don't have to worry about that because I can just do this. I can get on my phone, make a fool, act a fool or do this or do that, and I'm gonna get paid.
Right. Right.
So it all comes down to the perception of things and what's being, what it looks like to them, how it's being presented to them. Me growing up, what was presented is what it is. You want to get up out of here, you got to work hard. You need to work hard in school. You need to get all these different things. If you got those things, you knew that you had an opportunity of getting out. But now, you don't have to do this. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to be this because you can still do this right here.
And this is one of the things, I'm glad you brought that out about the social media and it's and the downside of it, But by the same token, it's good and good and bad in it, if used correctly.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that we're working on is because we coming from a kind of a whole different perspective, a whole nother angle at reaching our young folks.
Right.
And that is why we're doing what we're doing right now today with you and others too, is because we want the opportunity to be able to reach them in a positive way in real life on real life terms, And reading is one of the things. Reading is one of the keys to being able to be successful.
That's the key.
Or being able to be the best you can be. And this is one of the things that we're promoting, and it's not as easy as a lot of people may think, and it's not as simple because for somebody that can read, write, and comprehend, a lot of people find it unbelievable that so many of us can't.
Yeah.
And I ain't just talking about kids. There's a lot of adults that can't read.
Yeah.
And if the mother or father can't read, how they gonna work with the child?
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things that we working on too, is not only working with the youngsters, but working it with the family as a whole.
As a whole.
You know,
Yeah.
to get them to participate and be better.
Yeah. Everything now, you know, we have to make things appealing to the youth now.
Right.
And that's why, you know, I can talk about how I came up, but the way that I came up and what I actually did to get out, a lot of it may not apply nowadays because we're dealing with, you know, we dealing with different issues, it's different scenarios, different environments and things of that nature.
But the basics is the same.
The
though.
basic is, the base is the same,
Right.
and that's what we have to make appealing and help them to understand.
How do
It
you do
doesn't,
that?
it doesn't matter all the stuff that you're going through.
How do you do that though?
I think it takes,
To make it
group.
appealing.
Well, like you know, what I said at the beginning, even though there were guys that were on drugs and they were alcoholics and all this stuff, there was still a respect that I had for them because I saw where they were, saw what they're doing now, but it was still a certain level of respect that I had for them. So some of the, you know, things that they said, it made sense.
Right.
And there was a presence of the men in the community. And I think so for right now, when you look at it, for any community, we as men, we have to be more. And the reason I say that is because, man, we're from here to here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There are men now that you may not have a professional career, but you're doing something to hold yourself accountable, to take care of family, whatever the case may be. But it has to be from here to here, and everybody in between that is really showing the young men in the community that it really doesn't matter. If you're looking at the outside and looking at all these it's the twinkly things that's catching their eyes and taking them away from, this is all that it takes.
All the shine's not
The
gold.
book, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Being able to, you know, reading all these different things, this is the fundamentals. Every last one of us from here to here has these basic fundamentals. And if we can get you to understand that, now you can start, you know what I'm saying? We can start to create something a little bit different.
Yeah, okay. You said a while ago that what could interfere with your dream by the young black shooting himself, young black. Okay, when did you come up with the dream of being a crime fighter?
Man, not until my college, till I was almost my last year in college. Now, from the 7th grade, I knew I wanted to go to college. I wanted to be a physical therapist. But again, like I go back to, we try to pave our own way with a lot of stuff. And if you pay attention, those pathways are already paved because things happen that shift and keep you where you're supposed to be. So, and I'll tell you another thing, I don't know if you all knew, but I'm a veteran, Army veteran.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so when, I'm telling you, man, you know, just follow the path. Growing up, all you heard was black man ain't got no place in the Army, right, in the white man's Army. Those were the things that stuck with me until opportunities and situations arise. So my college, my last year in college, well, my junior year, I'm walking across campus, there was a black lady. And she pulled me and my friend off to the side. She was like, hey, what are y'all majoring in? It's like, yeah, we're in pre-med. I want to be a physical therapist. You want to do this? Y'all ever heard of chiropractic? Like, nah, what's that? She gave us a little rundown, but the one thing she said, she was like, 1, there's not a lot of black people in it. 2, you can probably make a lot of money.
Wow.
So those were things that's like, something to look at. My senior year had a bad injury to my back, man. And I'm walking around, I couldn't even get out the bed. I was playing games, and if we're on a bus trip, I'm having to lay on the floorboard of the bus coming back because my back was, you know, it just was never right. One of my teammates, white guy on the team, was like, man, I'm gonna take you to my chiropractor. Again, I'd never been to a chiropractor. It was only the second time I heard of it. Went to that chiropractor, man, hooked me up. And
So
I was back playing, didn't have really any issues with my back. I was like, that's what I want to do.
That's where your purpose came
That's where
from.
my purpose came, because I wanted to help people, and I wanted to do it without hurting people.
And Dr. Tipler, you are helping people.
Yeah.
I know for a fact, because you have helped me, and I know you helped my brother, because I see him walking now, and I almost sometimes can't believe it's him. He used to be so crooked.
Man,
I ain't talking about just crooked.
He's been coming for a long time,
Yeah,
man. But he inspired me. When he came in, he told me he's running in the Senior Olympics and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, that's
Yeah.
what it's about, man.
Yeah.
And if I can continue to help, especially black people, understand that you turn a certain age, it's not over.
Right.
Because that's not what life is, man.
Right.
And so when I chose chiropractic, I needed to figure out a way to pay for it and all that stuff. And that's when I joined the military. But get this, I tell you, like when they tell you about a journey, I moved to St. Louis. I slept in my car for like the first 2 or 3 weeks. I didn't have nowhere to live.
Wow.
So did all of that, and then in 2001, I was in like my second semester, 9/11 happened. And this was after basic training, all that stuff. I'm in now. 2011, 9/11 happened, and then 2003, beginning of 2003, I got pulled out of school. Did training, they was gonna send me over to Iraq. They released me, I got back enrolled. The end of 2003, they pulled me out of school again. I went over to Iraq, I was going out of school for 2 years. The minute I got back from Iraq, I thank God for bringing me back.
Right.
But as soon as I got back, I went right back into school. So it's all about, once you understand your purpose, and life is gonna be life. But once you understand that you got a bigger purpose, it's larger than you, you just got to follow the path that's laid.
Absolutely. And our path, our purpose is actually what brought us together.
Yeah.
But getting back to one other thing before we close out, because we got to get away from here. My people let me know our sponsors is on us already, and but this has been such an interesting conversation. We got to get you back first of all, but I want to ask you another question before we go though.
Okay.
Now I hear you saying you was a basketball player.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now was you getting hooped on, or was you hooping? Was you
Both. I ain't even gonna lie, man. I ain't even gonna lie. I was nice with it, but it was people that was a little bit nicer.
okay? All right. 'Cause I just wanted to know, cause I want to know who I'm working with.
Oh yeah, but I didn't lay down though. I ain't never lay down.
Okay.
If you nice, you gonna be nice in a hard way.
Yeah, because them sports like that tells you a lot about a person too.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we got to go. But as a matter of fact, that was one of the stories that Michelle Obama told. That stated that's how she ended up picking Obama to be her boyfriend. She had to have her brother to test him out on the basketball court.
Yeah?
Yeah. So if he ain't hard enough to deal with them on that court, you can't get him.
For me.
And he went in and handled his business.
That's what you gotta do, man.
But look, man, this has been great talking to you, and man, this is you've inspired me. I'm telling you. And but I'm looking. First, tell me this: are we gonna be able to get you back again?
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
Okay, I'm gonna hold you to it now.
All right.
Because it's a lot more that we do need for you to share with the people and these youngsters down here, because they need to hear and understand this story. So tell us where you're located at, because this might be some people that might want to get straightened out too.
Yeah, so Proficient Chiropractic, we got 2 locations. One in Overland, Missouri, it's 2050 Woodson Road, right down the street from the Overland Shopping Plaza. And then we have a second location in the city in Central West End, right on the corner of Union and Persian. You can reach out to us, look us up on the web, proficientchiro.com. Check us out, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff, but we here for our community. That's who we serving.
I hope you all got that information, and I recommend them totally, because they have done a great job for me and a lot of other people that I do know personally. And with that,
Let me
do
say
you
one
have
thing.
anything else?
I'm 83 years old, can run, jump up and down, because I've been visiting them.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about, Mr. Easter.
Hey man, you ain't just saying that because you're sitting there with us. All right, bro. With that, we're going to have to close out, you all. And thanks for being a part of our show today, and I hope that you have enjoyed it as much as we have. This has been a pleasure, and we look forward to bringing Dr. Tipler back, and so he can elaborate some more on some of the things that because I see he bubbling over with information he wants to share, and I'm bubbling over with wanting to hear the information he had to share.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, and we'll be back. And thanks for being with us today and in the future.